Oh, the West Virginia hills have majestic animal ground, with their summits bathed in glory like the King Emmanuel's land. If for to see your land I roam, still I think of happy home and the friends among those West Virginia hills. Oh, the hills, beautiful hills. How I love those West Virginia hills. My name is Erma Jean Grady Adams, and I was born in 1925 in Roane County, West Virginia, which is outside of Spencer, which is a Roane County courthouse. My grandfather was Scotch and Irish, and they think that how he met her, they were coming over here on a ship. One was coming from Scotland and one coming from Ireland, and they got married, and they come to outside of Spencer. I forget what county that was that they raised their children in. Their grandfather come over here and they was having Civil War, my Irish grandfather, and he didn't know they were having Civil War. I guess he wouldn't have come. But anyway, they made him get in the Civil War, and he didn't want to get in the Civil War, so he hid in the woods, and they found him, and he went in the Civil War. But he came back safe, and so did my French grandfather. He was in the Civil War, my grandmother's father, and he came back safe. But they said he was so hungry when he came back that everybody just finished dinner, and he come in and started eating the bones. But I don't know when he died, but he didn't live long after he came back to the Civil War. That was a bad war. My grandmother had 12 kids, and we played I Spy. You know, something in a room. Have you ever played I Spy? Egg. You put an egg behind you, or line up on a sofa and put an egg behind you. And so our cousin Jackie was there, and we all was doing that. And you know what he said? He had the egg behind him, and he jumped up and he said, he was just a little kid. That's not fair. I'm not the laying kind. So that, and you know the fist stalk. You know the fist stalk? I put your fist on mine. I put your fist on. Hey, put your fist. What you got there, Joshua? Say fist stalk.
Fist talk.
Take it off or knock it off. Look at it. Ask me what I got there.
What you got there?
Fist stalk.
Take it off or I'll knock it off.
What you got there?
Fist talk.
Take it off or knock it off. Ask me what I got here.
What do you got there?
Bread and cheese. Where's my share? Say
Where's my share?
I put it in the cupboard and the cat got it. Where's the cat?
Where's the cat?
In the woods.
Where's the woods?
Fire burned it.
Where's the fire?
Water put it out.
Where's the water?
Ox struck it.
Where's the ox?
Knife cut it.
Where's the knife?
The hammer broke it. Say, where's the hammer?
Where's the hammer?
Behind the door cracking nuts, and the first one that laughs out loud or shows its teeth gets the big box. You got it. Now, Grandma had to do this. She didn't have 12 kids, and she didn't have much money. Her family was rich, but Grandpa was the man that worked on the farm, and she married the farmer. My parents were R.J. Grady, who worked for the United Fuel Company, and he had a farm too. We just lived on a farm, but he worked for United about 38 years when he retired from that. And my mother was just a housewife, what they said on my birth certificate. And he was a farmer because we was on a farm. And my father had a machine, and people brought their corn up to. He had a machine that if they would give him, they didn't have any money, and if they gave him so much corn for his out of their corn, and he had the machine, and he would grind it up and make cornmeal for them. So it was a busy life. It really was a busy life. He'd cut the wheat down, and the threshing machine would come once a year and thresh all the wheat, and my sister was 1 year older than me, and we'd go after when they threshed the wheat, they threw the straw out, and then we'd jump in the straw and play when they would threw that out, you know. And then we had all the people for dinner because Mama had to cook a big dinner for all the threshers. They used to take the chicken. I tried to kill a chicken. I couldn't kill a chicken, and I hit it so much I felt sorry for it and let it go. But they used to take chickens and wring their necks, and I used to get a chicken, and we'd pour hot water on him and pick all his feathers off, and then you had to cut him up. And I cut up a lot of them. Everybody, you know, I've been sick so much. I was a sickly little baby, you know. They didn't think I was going to live. My mother said they would look for me to die. My head would roll right back like I was going to be dead. Next day I'd be up running around getting into everything in the house. And so she said, you know what my mother said? You couldn't die if you laid down and kicked your heels up. And I'm still here. I'm the oldest one. She was 14 months old when I was born. And then Janet was 5 years old. Let's see, I was 5 years old when Janet was born. She died this year, and her husband. And then Evelyn, she got married to a guy, and she got to a guy, one of the people in West Virginia, give her that guy's number, and boy, she married him. And she could come to see her, David Evans, and he started a grocery store. He did every kind of thing. Well, anyway, Evelyn went to Texas with him, and she didn't like Texas, and she came home and got back to West Virginia. She died just 2 years ago, I believe. So, and then you know about Juanita. She's in Tennessee. We're the only two living out of 5 children. Juanita is 82 and I'm 92. So she had 3. Let's see. She had 4 children. One of them died. Her second child died. And she's still living in below Nashville. Well, Edna and I, we always slept together, you know. And I tell you one thing, my grandfather, my mother's father and mother got separated, but she died. But we went and got him and brought him from another place in West Virginia, Clarksburg, and brought him home with us. And he believed in going to church on Saturday. It was a Seventh-day Baptist. And so he was all dressed up on Saturday. And he had his hat, he had a nice hat. And I guess I was jealous because Janet was a baby. He was holding Janet, and they took a picture. I've got a picture of Mike and Bessie and Janet holding Janet. So I saw his hat laying there, and I took his hat, and I went up my cherry tree with it. I used to let it come on that cherry tree. And he was standing there stomping his feet, and my father was so mad at me because so I threw his hat down. But I hid until nighttime come, and I went and got in bed. And Edna and I slept together, and he brought a switch in there, and he switched us both. But anyway, we were sort of tomboys in the country, you know that. And I went to Nebo's schoolhouse until I was 9 years old, which was a little country school up on a hill surrounded by woods. And little orphan Annie's come to our house to stay, to wash the cups and saucers up and brush the crumbs away, shoo the chickens off the porch, dust the hearth and sweep, make the fire and bake the bread, and earn her board and keep. And all of us other childrens, when the supper things is done, we sits around the fire and we has the mostest fun. Just listen to the witch tales that Annie tells about, and the goblins that'll get you if you don't watch out. Little orphan Annie, there was a little girl who always laughed and grinned. She made fun of everyone and all of her blood and kin. And one evening there was company, and the old folks was there. She mocked them and she shocked them and said she didn't care. But just as she kicked her heels and started to run and hide, there was 2 big black things standing at her side. They snatched her through the ceiling, for she knowed what she was about, and the goblins will get you if you don't watch out. There was a little boy, and he wouldn't say his prayers. When he went to bed at night, way upstairs, his daddy heard him holler, and his mother heard him bawl, but when they turned the covers down, he wasn't there at all. They seeked him in the rafter room, in the cubby hole, in the press, and up the chimney flues, and everywheres, I guess. But all they ever found of him was his pants and roundabout, and the goblins will get you if you don't watch out. Little orphan Annie says when the blaze is blue, that's a lamp. When the blaze is blue, and the lamp wick sputter, and the wind goes woo, you better mind your parents and your teachers fond and dear. Honor those who love you, and dry the orphan's tear, and help the poor and needy ones that linger all about, or the goblins will get you if you don't watch out. Yeah, you know, that's what, I didn't do good in the third grade. That's what I learned in the third grade. And I never forgot it. I used to scare my little sister to death. And Edna and I were the oldest. We were 14 months apart, and we wore bib overalls. She said we wore the bib overalls in the summertime with no shirt. In the winter we wore them with flannel shirts. And we went to the Nebo school, you know. And it was so cold. Oh, it was so cold. We'd walk home from school and we could have snow clear up to our waists. We cut through the field where Grandpa had sheep in that field. We come through that field and climbed the fence to get to Grandpa's house. And my sister, she thought she could beat that old buck sheep. He was mean and he come after us. And I got over that fence. We had a little like a ladder going over the fence, and I got over it before she did. And the buck sheep, she was too slow, and the buck sheep got his horns in her and set her over the fence. That was a pretty good one. I don't know. I had to climb it down long enough. I stayed slim then. I had to climb up one and to go to school and one down. We wanted to learn to swim. Daddy took us to a creek. And this is irritating. Edna was the oldest, and Edna got nosebleed. And we get in the water, and we think we're doing good, and Daddy'd pull our legs up from under us. And we never got to go back anymore because Edna had the nosebleed. We never did learn to swim. I didn't ride a horse, but I rode back home with my dad. He had Mac and Bessie, two colts that he broke in. You know, we stood in the door and he brought them down next to the farmhouse. And every time he'd get one on, my mother would yell because he would get thrown off and then he'd get back on until he broke those two, Mac and Bessie. He broke them in. And I know one time that it was snowed and we didn't a long ways to a grocery store. It was a country grocery store. And he put Edna and I in a sleigh. He had 2 horses, and he put us in a sled and pulled us and covered us up and pulled us all the way about 10 miles to that grocery store in the snow. But I think that was a bad thing to leave the country and move in the city because we didn't have as good a time as we did in the country. After when I was 9, I moved to Spencer and went to Spencer Elementary School, which was, I had to walk down a hill and then up on Schoolhouse Hill, which was, I guess, maybe 6 miles or something. I was still in school, maybe in the 8th grade or something, and we had to do exercises because we girls just wore dresses, but we had to get slacks because we did exercises on people, and out goes the bad air, and in comes the good, and pushed them on the ribs. And one time, there was a big girl from the farm, and I had to put a hip bandage on her. We did all that stuff during the war, and also by the time I was in the 9th grade, we did home economics, and the boys were going in the war. We did they had vocational agriculture, and they had to learn how to cook. So we had to take the girls traded classes with them, and we took vocational agriculture, and they went in the cooking class and learned to cook because they were going in the Navy. They had to learn a lot of different things to do. You know, and we had, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 cousins that went in that war, and they all come back. I was lucky that they did. And my grandfather and my father's brothers was in World War One, and there was 3 of them in there, and they all come back safely. The 3 boys that went in World War One came back safely. So, and also these were the boys that were in Vietnam, and I had 2 nephews in Vietnam, and my son Dexter, and they come back home safely. And so after that, I went there until I went to Spencer High School. And then when I went to school and I went to work, I worked at Spencer Stats drugstore. When I started working at the drugstore, I started smoking cigarettes. I was 17, and I sold cigarettes. Can you believe that? I wouldn't tell them to do that. And after that, I worked at a state hospital. It was called Spencer State Hospital. And after that, my sister's sister-in-law came to visit, and she wanted me to go to Akron, Ohio with her, where I stayed about 4 years, and I worked in a Goodyear aircraft, and I filed small parts, and then I had a big rubber hammer, and I helped pound out nose ribs and tail ribs for airplanes because the war was going on, World War II. I went to Tennessee, and I was working in the Greyhound bus terminal, and I met my husband there because he was down there. And I met Tom. I met him in the bus terminal because I was in there, and I was carrying 4 cups of coffee like this to wait on all these people out there. And a guy come by, and he hit me in the back, and I spilled all that coffee all over myself. And I went in the kitchen, and I started crying, and he got his handkerchief out and wiped my face with it. Thomas R. Adams, and he was down there going to, he just come out of the Navy, and he was going to a school for automobile school down there. And so he come to the bus terminal to make some more money, and he washed the dishes, and I waited on the people. Tom's history is his mother died when he was 2 years old, and his brother James was born, and she died from that birth. And so he had a stepmother after that. And he went to crew schools, I guess, and he didn't go to many schools, but I helped him, but I knew how to study, and he didn't know how to study good, and he didn't do good in school. So they handed him all these papers that he had to learn to get on the railroad, and he threw them down in the living room, and he said, "I can't do this." I said, "Yes, you can too." I said, "Give me one of those books." And so he gave me the book, and I would tell him all what it was, but he had a pretty good memory. So I would tell him what to say when he went before the board, and I'd make him do that over and over, and he passed the test, and he was just a graduate of the 6th grade, and he was on the railroad. And a lot of guys that graduated from school, they made fun of him. They called him Howdy Doody, but Howdy Doody became their conductor. Can you believe that? That was good. He did Norfolk Western Railroad, and he retired after 28 years. He was having too much trouble with his knees because when he first went on, he was a brakeman, and they had to jump off of the train and pull the switch. Ever so many miles they had to pull the switch, but he went off too fast, and he just wore his knees out, from all that. That's one reason he retired. And he also had heart trouble. And he had heart trouble, kidney stones, and he was sick for many years. After he retired, let's see, he was 50, maybe 52 when he retired. But he lived for about 8 years after he retired. What did he like to do? Wood carving. He did real good wood carving. And I've got a certificate that when he worked on the railroad, he was asked to join a thing in Norfolk, what do you call it, Art Museum down in Norfolk. And I've got the paper. I want you to see it sometime if you will. But he never did go and do it. But he did a lot of that. Your mother has a lot of the carvings. He did a lot of carvings, and also a lot of people. He got a lot of people because they wanted to put like hearts with the women's names on it. And so I decided I was going to go back to Ohio because I liked Ohio better. So I got a bus and I went to Cincinnati. And then so he was still working in Nashville. So he came up there and he showed me all the rings and they could get wedding rings and everything. And we got married. And we got married on August the 29th. Oh, we went to Kentucky. Across the bridge was Kentucky. And we went to Kentucky and got married. And after that, when I went away, he wrote me letters, to Cincinnati. And so after that, we didn't have any children for 3 years, and we had 3 children. And we had 4 children. But we had 5 really, but one of them died. The second one died. So then after that, we went to Crewe, Virginia, where he got on the railroad. And then after that, we moved from Crewe, Virginia to Petersburg, Virginia. While I was still in Crewe, Virginia, I went to Farmville, Virginia, and I had my oldest son, Dexter. And then I had another son a year later named David, and he died. But then after that, we moved to Petersburg, and I had my 3rd son, which was Sammy, Kenneth Samuel. And I don't know, honey. Sammy was pretty good, but we didn't think he was in high school. And we drove by Belo's, and here him and some boys were back there eating candy. And we had a hard time keeping him in school. Sammy's shot in the heel. Did you know that? That government place over back of us, Dexter and him were over there and some boys, and they broke into the machine, where you get candy and stuff out of. And so this man's wife, they didn't go to the church. They started going to church. So anyway, Sammy did not want to go over there. Dexter left something over there. He was afraid they'd get his fingerprints off of it. So I remember I was listening to that, and Sammy did go with him over there. And he said that they were running at his wife. He shot Sammy in the heel, and that bullet is still in Sammy's heel, because if they take it out, it'll make him cripple, And look at the stuff he's done. Worked at that shipyard all those years, and 8 years in the Navy. And if he was that bad off, he wouldn't have been in the Navy. He stayed in the Navy for 8 years. Then after that, we still in Petersburg when I had Teresa, who was the 4th child. And the 5th child was Linda Christine Adams, and we were in Colonial Heights, Virginia when she was born. Linda and her dog. Linda loved dogs, and all the rest of them were in school. That's when we got Sandy. And I looked for Linda. She was out in the backyard. We had a fenced-in yard, and I couldn't find Linda. And you know where Linda was? In the doghouse with the dog. She liked dogs. All the children got married little by little. I think Teresa was the first one to get married, and then And then Sammy come back. He was in the Navy. The third one, he was in the Navy, and he came back and got married. They got married in Elizabeth City, but Teresa got married in Virginia Beach. They had a wedding, and so then Dexter come back out of the. Dexter was in the Marine Corps, and he come back out of the Marine Corps, and then he got married to a girl that was working with Linda, and they was married quite a few years until she died. You know, he had 3. I told him he tried to get back his license. Tom was a good swindler. He was about ready to get his license back. I wrote on the paper and handed it to them. That was not the first accident he had. That was the third one he had, because the other one he had, he laid us all over. We had three kids who were going to a picnic from down where Fred Bates went his church, and Tom laid us all over in the cornfield. And he didn't turn the car off. And he went to a neighbor's house, and they brought a tractor and pulled it out, and that was never reported. But you know what? This boy, what is his name? Driver said, "I'm never going to ride with Grandpa again." We were all laying over the sideways, and I was afraid the car was okay. He didn't left the switch on. I got the switch on, and then another time we were coming down Kempsville Road, and he ran off of the road, and he ran over into another road, and then he crossed the road, and we was about that far from hitting a car. I didn't want him to get it. I didn't want to drive from Elizabeth City to Virginia to take him to the doctor, but I had to. I'd rather do it than have him take a chance on one. That was a bad crooked road, wasn't it? So I did the driving up after that. Oh, that's the one when we had the little Chevette. Oh gosh, that's when that other guy he said wasn't driving right. He had just asked me. We stopped somewhere to get gas, and he had asked me, "Don't you want to drive?" They'd put some other stuff in his car that made it go faster. So he went. You know, he listen. I saw the road coming up right here at the white. I could have stopped that, but I said, "Tom, you're running off the road. You're that little white strip. You're running off the road about 3 times." And then he ran over the road. He hit a billboard, and my door got mashed in. Where he hit the billboard, it just kept going. His foot must have been having foot straight on the gas. We went across the river. There was a little creek, about big as this, and we jumped the river. And we was coming to a tree, and I said, and Tom was knocked out by then, and I said, if I'd have looked at him, I could have told that he was going off, you know, but I didn't look at him. And so there, we saw this big tree, and I said, that'll be the last thing I see in my life. And all of a sudden, the car went down like that, and it got like messed around the tree, plum, 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 and it had a battery charger in the back of that thing. It flew forward and hit the windshield, and come back and hit him between the eyes. And I thought that's why he wasn't really. It was always dementia, but that affected his mind. But he really wasn't right after that, really, because he wanted to get rid of BB, you know, and he had Sammy coming. He had Sammy, you get Sammy to come here and take this dog away. And I got Sammy, and he came to take the dog away. And that night, I said, I'm worried about the dog, but I was asleep, and I fell over the bed. He's not in the bed. Where are you at, Tom? In the couch. I said, what are you doing on the couch? You know what he said? I'm worried about my dog. And he wanted to get rid of it. So then later when my husband died, and I can't remember what year it was, 94. He had heart trouble, and he had very sick for many years. But he did finish 28 years with the railroad. And now I'm alone. I started out, and I'm alone in a nursing home, which is a big place, and I'm in Pineville, North Carolina. I'm just now 92 and I'll be 93 in March. And I have 8 grandchildren and 15 great grandchildren. And the oldest one is Danny Adams, and the youngest one is Joshua Sigel, and the youngest baby is Joshua Sigel's son, Lebanon Isaac, and I am now the grandmother of Isaac, the Isaac in the Bible. And I think that's about all until I get out of this nursing home. Maybe get to walking better, I can get out of this nursing home. And may God bless you all and keep you all safe.